The voice recorder is on. Hello, I'm here today with, do you want to use your real name or a fake name?
Linnette.
Linnette, okay. I'm here with Linnette. We met a couple years ago online. This is the first time we've met in person. We've had some interesting back and forth exchanges, and now we're going to do some street epistemology. Yeah?
Yeah, whatever that is.
I guess you're about to find out, huh?
I guess I am.
Linnette, Linnette. Start there. So, we just had dinner, and it was really good, and now I'm really, really full.
Yeah,
So,
shout out to Himalayan Kitchen.
Himalayan Kitchen. Yeah, really good. Okay, so Linnette, what are we going to talk about today? What is your claim?
What is my claim?
Yeah.
I'm going for the big one again.
Okay. Big ones are good.
Yeah, that I believe in God.
Okay. God is real.
God is real.
Can we say it like that, or
yeah?
Okay. That works. God is real. Do you want to add anything to that? What if we just...
And a force in my life.
Okay, and a force in my life.
How about that?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm just writing this down so we can come back to it if we need to. Can you tell me your definition of God? Like, what is God to you? Because it's different for different people, so.
Right.
Yeah, how do you define God?
The power outside myself that's life-giving, creating, I guess all-powerful.
Power outside yourself, life-giving,
in charge.
creating you mentioned also.
Yeah, creative, created the world.
Creative, creating, yeah. And in charge? Is that the other one you said? Okay, cool. On a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, how confident are you that this God is a power outside yourself, life-giving, creative, in charge, entity?
Well, I'm 60, so I've been down this. That's why I picked this too, because I've
Yeah.
been down a huge road around this.
You're 60 years old?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so.
I wouldn't have guessed that. That's awesome.
So I'm going with 100%.
Ooh.
Yeah.
100% confident.
Yeah.
That God is real.
Yes.
And a force in your life.
Yes.
That's really interesting. That is so high.
It is, huh? Do people not usually say 100%?
Everyone's different. You get a lot of 100s.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's my next question. Like, how did you get to the 100% mark? How did you get that high? Were you always that high? Always been that confident?
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, I guess as a toddler, you're probably not thinking about it at all, but like what?
Yeah, so I came into the world in a pretty chaotic situation.
Uh-huh.
My parents didn't get along. They fought all the time. And occasionally, like, bad fighting. And so my mom was...
It was kind of a high-stress environment.
Very high stress, very, like... My dad's very controlling, so you had to walk a certain way all the time. You had to eat a certain way.
Like physically walk a certain way and physically eat?
Yep. Shoulders back. Like he did officers training school, so we were all in officers training school.
So that was like a priority for him, like for his family
I don't know.
or something.
Anyways, yeah, so for a little kid, my mom was pretty emotionally unavailable. So I wouldn't say that I experienced love at home.
Yeah.
Or support or nurturing. You know, I was always trying to survive, basically.
Survival mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were your parents religious? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So they were both Methodists, and then my mom and dad split up, and then my mom joined the LDS church.
How old were you when they split?
4.5.
So a little kid.
Yeah.
And
then my mom joined. I was probably 5.5.
So not really aware of what's going on.
Actually pretty aware. Like, I
really?
remember going to church at that point.
Oh, okay. Start going to primary and...
Well, I remember being blessed. Like...
Oh, I didn't know they did that for older kids.
Yeah, they used to.
So that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And I just remember there being love in my life now. Like this new thing.
Yeah. So you could feel something different.
Yeah.
With this change.
Yeah. And we had gone to a Methodist church, but...
So did your dad stay Methodist?
I don't think my dad really attended church.
Oh. He was like technically Methodist or something?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Okay. So you didn't go to church with mom and then church with dad. It was...
No.
Just the LDS church at that point.
We went to get ice cream with my dad.
Oh, I like ice cream. Go dad.
Yeah. So I just remember it being different. Like, there being love there, being people that watched out for each other. And believe it or not, we had a home teacher that lived around the corner. Yeah. And it was brother and sister love.
Aw, that's precious.
So for me, being really young, it was just like...
Yeah, so the first time in your life, you're like feeling these positive environment feelings and people who care and take care of you.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember your questions. Like,
I don't remember.
It was, have I always believed in God?
Yeah.
And so...
Or like maybe when did you first realize that?
Well, and then, in primary, you start singing all these primary songs, and I really enjoyed that. But I had this kind of unique experience where I felt, because I was baptized, and I remember feeling good about that.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to be good, kind of for God, trying to do what He would want me to do.
Yeah, so it was in your mind already, thinking about...
So where my family was kind of a vacuum, the church and a belief in God kind of stepped in. But then I had this experience where I felt like God put His arms around me one time and just said, "You are loved."
Yes.
Like He loves me.
About how old were you when that happened?
9.
Okay, so you're a small
But it was
kid.
huge. It was like... I probably haven't experienced anything that powerful even since. Yeah. And I've experienced some pretty cool things.
Can you talk a little more about that? Like what that experience was like?
So we were in state conference, and there was an apostle there.
You're 9 years old.
And I'm 9 years old. I remember where I was sitting. I don't remember what I was wearing. I remember the other song we sang, but we sang "I Am a Child of God." Yeah. And I remember feeling good about that. Your normal, you like feeling...
It's familiar.
And it's a good belief. And so we sat down, and then this apostle stands up and he has us all stand up again. He said, "I want all the kids to stand up again." And he tells us how much God loves each one of us. And I could just feel this, like, it was like 20 times more powerful than singing the song. Right. Where I just felt like God put His arms around me. And so I had this...
Almost like a physical sensation, you think?
As pretty near as you could get for something spiritual, yeah.
Wow. Really impactful. It sounds like.
Yeah. But interestingly, like... And I had, several... kind of formative spiritual experiences after that. And then I went on a mission. But I think when I went on a mission and I talked to people about God, I didn't really talk about that experience. Like, I didn't remember it.
Right. So it wasn't like in the forefront of your mind, or...
I don't remember, like, how we say we know this or that. Right. But we don't understand why sometimes. And I think it was just my memory that didn't really connect that.
So that came later on, like maybe after your mission, that memory?
That memory came back a lot later.
Yeah. were you thinking about why do I know this? And then it came back? What triggered that memory, you think?
So I came out, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
I was 25 after my mission, and I went away from the church.
You came out as gay,
As
right?
gay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just for the recording. So.
So everyone knows where we're at. Yeah. And so I went away from the church for 20 years. Until I was 45, 25 to 45, basically. And so, like, a couple interesting things happened during that time, not related to being gay or anything, just that I went to a lot of different churches and a lot of different religions. Like,
were you looking for a church to attend?
No.
What made you want to go?
I just really enjoyed, like, hearing all the different perspectives on God.
So it's more of an educational exploration?
It was just my interest.
Okay.
It was just like what I just wanted something, I think, to feed my soul around God. And so I would go to all these different things. And generally...
Did you maintain your belief in God even while you were not active in any churches?
Well, yeah, so this is interesting because probably when I left, so you know the contention that happens between faith and being gay, right?
Yeah.
Like, I loved both of those things. I needed both of those things.
The authenticity and the community.
Figuring myself out and my faith, right? And so that's an opposing thing.
Right.
So I kind of felt like I needed to go figure myself out. And I felt like I could keep my faith.
Okay.
Like, it was just part of me. So, of course, I could keep it. And to nurture it, I didn't go to the LDS church. I would just go to other churches and learn. And, you know, it's interesting because they do say things differently, but a lot of times I think it means the same thing. A lot of it.
Do you think they all believe in the same God? Or the same concept of God, just maybe different names? Or, like, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I would say it's all the same God. Because they all want to do good. They all want to learn more about him, her, whatever.
Yeah.
Higher power. They all want to...
Right.
Yeah, so I would say kind of motivationally, it's the same thing. Yeah, even though different experiences and different traditions hold different facts about God.
So it sounds like, if this isn't correct, like, let me know.
Okay.
It sounds like you had a belief in God from an early age, like 5 probably, when you first were introduced to the concept. And then it just kind of stuck with you, and it kind of maybe ebbed and flowed a little bit strength-wise. But then it became more important as you got older and were looking for something more direct, maybe?
I don't know if it
what
got
made you
more
want to
important. I just
get
always
back into
was
it?
interested in it. Like,
Okay.
I've always enjoyed talking to people about it and getting their different perspectives.
You never considered yourself an atheist at any point, or that, did you?
No.
So
But
you've already had a belief.
interestingly-
Always had the belief. Okay.
Yes. But interestingly, I would have this thought. So probably I was 30 when I started having this thought. What if there isn't a God?
Uh-huh.
And I would just have this thought. And
how'd you
sit
answer
with
yourself?
I would sit with it, and I'm like, what the heck? What if there isn't a God? So I had, like, completely forgotten, not forgotten, but I didn't have any tangible hold on that memory of when I was 9.
Right, that personal experience as a kid, yeah.
And I'd had other experiences around Christ, for example, or around the church.
I'm sure on your mission you had all
lots
kinds
of experiences.
Yeah.
But I would just, by the time I was 30, I started having this thought. And I'd have it every year, every 6 months, whatever.
Right.
I had it a lot.
It would pop back in.
It would just come along, and I would have to rethink this thought.
Yeah.
Like, what if there isn't a God? Like, what if I'm going down this road and it doesn't really matter?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So how did you deal with that?
So I just started thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, do I really believe in God, and why do I believe in God? And what
Like
difference does it make that I
deep
believe in
questions.
God?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of those things, right? And
And does it make a difference? Yeah, all of those
right,
attachment questions that come along with
right.
the concept.
And so I made up. It's not a rationalization. I came up with my own logic about I would say in moments when you don't believe there's a God, right? Mm-hmm. That.
Did you not believe, or you're just questioning, asking the question?
Well, there's a place where people. There's a place where we can't see it, right? We can't see God. He's not here sitting with us, right? So
you can't say, "Here's my friend God."
So how do you know He's there, right?
Yeah.
Versus, so where do you go when it becomes far away from you, in a sense, I guess.
Yeah.
And the place that my mind just decided was, because I was going to all these other traditions and faiths and religions about God, essentially. Mm-hmm. I just decided, well, humanity in general has believed in God.
Yeah.
We all kind of search and yearn for God in some way.
Yeah.
Like, it's our question. Mm-hmm. I think almost.
Or is it our answer?
No, I think it's our question. It's our searching.
Okay.
Like, because then that leads to, is there more to life than this?
Yeah.
You know, what's the purpose of life? And like all these other things that come into it.
I just ask if it's our answer because, you know, how people say, I don't know this or I don't know that. And then they put God in that hole, you know, of not knowing. So if you don't know something...
But we could think of a different answer.
Oh, yeah. You could say, it's the tooth fairy.
Yeah.
Or
there isn't a God.
Or it's coincidence.
But pretty much since time began, humanity has thought about God. And so that was my rationale for, well, of course there's a God. We all think about it, and we have this intrinsic sense about us that I think we come with. I've decided we come with to want to know about God.
Could a lot of people think something and still be wrong?
No, I don't think so.
Don't think so.
No.
So does that make it obvious?
The world was flat, but
right.
That was. Yeah, I suppose we could. No, I think that there's some paradigm, whether it's the LDS theology about God or someone else's theology about God.
Right.
That doesn't matter to me. I believe there's a God.
Not necessarily the LDS Church's definition of God. Do you think it could be something different? Possibly.
I think I would lean more towards that being a viable solution than there not being a God.
A different God than the LDS definition.
Yeah. Versus there not being a God.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So that's what I relied on for, like...
So you're like 30-ish at this
30-ish
point.
Like, I developed this thinking, probably not when I was 30, but through time.
Yeah, it evolves over time, right?
Yeah.
Just how we learn
through
things.
The next 8 or 9 years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then then I had this experience where I was sitting in my therapist's office. And I was kind of getting to the place in my life where, so I'd done the gay thing for...
The gay thing.
For, I'm going to say 12, 13 years at this point, maybe 14 years. And I was kind of getting discouraged because it wasn't what I was looking for. And I kind of felt,
like, what
I
about
don't want to
it?
say trapped in it, but I was.
What about it was kind of making you feel that way?
Well, as one person I dated said, it's just serial monogamy. Like there wasn't a way of feeling bonded to someone. Another woman for me, right?
Right. So you didn't find it emotionally fulfilling? Or was it more than that? Just the whole dating process.
Yeah, emotionally. I always thought that emotionally, spiritually, sexually, it should all bind together. There should be a kaleidoscope of how it fits.
Right.
And it didn't.
It should be satisfying overall.
Yeah. So spiritually and sexually, primarily, emotionally probably worked a little better than the spiritual and the sexual parts.
So you still felt lacking relationship-wise?
Yeah, and I would blame it on the relationship, but then I'd go to the next one and it was the same thing.
Same process.
Right. And so I was getting to the point where I was starting to feel kind of down about that.
Yeah.
And it was, and I didn't know, so I just felt like in this place of, well, I'm gay, what am I going to do? And
right.
I didn't know a way out. I didn't see a way out, or I didn't know what to do next. So I was just kind of frustrated. Anyway,
yeah,
so,
I can imagine that'd be a tough place to be in. Like,
yeah,
because there's no guidebook that says here's what you need to do.
Well, and I wasn't of the mindset, well, now I can be straight if that's not working for me, or
right. You can't just flip that switch.
No. Yeah, that's not something you think about. And anyways, and I had lost my job. So I took half a year off, 8 months off, and I found another job. And I was sitting in my therapist's office, and he goes, because I just found another job, and he goes, okay, you move with such ease in the world. That's the way he said it. Because I had found another job, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, what did that mean?
I know, it was like,
you move with such ease.
yeah, because I'm feeling pretty lost on the one hand, but on the other hand, like, I can do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was saying. Like, I'm like, even though I felt lost, I'm super capable.
Right. So he was just noticing your flexibility to adapt.
I don't know. But I was thinking,
of course, he only knows limited amount of your...
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking about it, and this experience when I was 9 came back to me. Like in full color.
In the therapist's office?
Yeah, in full color. Like exactly what happened. And I thought, well...
So it just triggered that memory.
Yeah, it triggered that memory. And I said to him, well, God loves me. That's why I have confidence. I can do whatever I want.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that came back to me. And it's like one
and then it kind of made sense.
It made sense of why I have confidence. Yeah, why I have confidence in just putting one foot in front of the other.
And keeping going.
Yeah.
And you attributed that to God loving you?
Yeah. That's where my confidence comes from.
Yeah. So
it's kind of interesting, like I had this powerful experience, and then I kind of went down this road that's a little different, went to all these different churches, and then I didn't really connect with, why I believed in God even, and
it was just there.
Yeah, it was just there, and I had to even make a rationale about it when all these thoughts would come in about, well, maybe there isn't a God, and then I had this memory come back to me. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Yeah. And
then after you had that triggered memory, is that when you decided to go back to the LDS church? Or was there more to that? Or like what happened after you had that memory, I guess is a better question.
So I started meditating with the Zen Buddhists.
Yes.
Hardcore.
Wow.
45
what was that
minutes, like? 45 minutes looking at a wall.
Oh.
Yeah, you sit in front of a wall, you're like 12 inches away, and you look at a wall.
Oh, I was just thinking, I'm up to 10 minutes, and that's pretty good. I'm pretty proud.
Yeah, total silence, empty your mind kind of meditation. Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah.
And I was like very chaotic. My mind was just like on overload. Because I was in a place I didn't know what to do.
You had all these transitioning things going on. How old's your son at this point?
He was non-existent.
Not there
still.
yet, okay.
Yeah, so I probably meditated for 2 or 3 years, hardcore. And probably after a year, I started letting back in my spiritual belief in God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I had gone to 12-step program.
After doing the meditations?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
After about a year of quieting my mind,
Uh-huh.
like getting, so the process of meditation for Zen at least is empty mind.
Yeah.
So you watch,
So the thoughts come in,
yeah,
you just acknowledge them and they go out. Yeah.
You don't even acknowledge them, you
just watch them go by.
Just like, wow, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot of fear, a lot of
Yes.
craziness, a lot of confusion, a lot of hopes, a lot of...
Which that's what I love about meditation, is
Yeah.
just like recognizing these thoughts and knowing that they're there.
Right.
And then you're like, what do I do with that?
Well, and trying
Just
to...
let it go.
Yep. Yeah, and then you start to see kind of what's you and what's not you. And
Right.
It's a good thing.
It's
Meditation's a good thing.
makes you aware of your own thoughts and the own inner chatter that is sometimes unhealthy too.
Yep.
Okay, so you did
This
that
whole
for
landscape.
a couple years?
Yeah, and I started praying in my meditation probably like after a year or so of
Like-
meditating
Directed at
at God.
your idea of God?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
While you're meditating?
At the end of my meditations.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Maybe, last third or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that started like opening me back up to my own essence around God, my own, like, because I'd gone to all these churches, I had all this,
Right.
but just what do I
What does it mean to me? Yeah.
believe and what do I want to connect with? And and then after that I had my son. And then after that, I moved up by my sister, and then a couple years after that, I started going back to LDS Church. So it was still like
So it's still a process.
yeah, still like
Yeah.
a 5-year process or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you move up by your sister a couple years later. Your son's a baby.
Yeah, so he was probably 1.5, and I just really felt strongly
Little guy.
about raising him with a spiritual sense and a belief in God, or at least the opportunity to believe in God, as well as being Christian. That was really important to me.
The Christ part of religion. So
Yeah.
why did you choose LDS, to go to the LDS Church?
After
After all the things you've
I
done and
know.
experienced.
I really thought about it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, because I've been on a mission, you wouldn't think it was clear or that I would have had a opinion about it, but I thought about checking out the Catholic Church. I thought about checking out the other, whatever other churches were around. I wanted to find out.
Right, but you didn't do that.
No, I didn't. I just thought, well, all his cousins are LDS.
Mm-hmm.
I know what that's all about.
You have a background.
Yeah, it's I don't see anything harmful there. I know some people feel that there's some harmful things, but for me, it didn't. I had a good experience there. I like how they take care of each other, and it's solid Christianity. I always feel like the LDS Church is the monks of the Christian world.
Yeah, did you look at other Christian churches?
I've been to a lot of Christian
Because you went to a bunch of different ones, didn't you?
Yeah. I've been to a lot.
Because it seems like the LDS definition of Christ is pretty different than other ones, as far as I can tell. I don't know. I'm mostly familiar with LDS, but, there's different stories. So it felt familiar to you, it felt comfortable, it felt right.
Yeah, and I felt like it would just be confusing to him if I did something different.
Yeah,
than
so all
what
your
my
cousins
sister
are
was
going to
doing.
this church, and you're going to go to this church, or they might say
So
different
that's
things.
why I started back to the LDS Church.
Okay.
Because I just felt like it would be the most, the easiest route.
Yeah.
Versus constantly having the question, why do you go to that church? Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Just all go to the same
Why don't
church.
you just
That's
come
fine.
to our church? Yeah. So did you ever factor into it, I want to find the church that is the most true, has the most truth in it? Or was truth ever a consideration in your looking for churches? Or was it something else?
Yeah, at that point when I started going back, I didn't have I'd gotten far away from that one true church thing.
Oh.
I mean, I'd obviously thought about it on my mission, but
Right.
I don't know, it wasn't on my radar. It really wasn't on my radar at all, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, for someone who's like deep into seeking and learning and exploring all these different ideas.
Yeah, and probably that comes back to how I see what we believe and why we believe and different things like that versus, having to believe in the exact right thing. Right.
So where do you think you are now as far as what's your priority in believing true things versus believing something just for comfort or convenience or familiarity? Like, does the actual truth, is that a priority?
Yeah, so I was wondering, actually the last couple of weeks, which is kind of interesting that you pinged me, because I was wondering the last couple of weeks, I was thinking, I wonder if, so one of, when I started in therapy, one of the guys I went to was a Stanford teacher in psychiatry.
Oh,
yeah.
There's some great ones.
Yeah, Stanford, big time. Yeah. And so one of the things he said to me is this, because I was inquisitive about Prozac. It's when the whole Prozac thing came out.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of new.
And I read the book, and so I started asking him about it, and he gave me this very simple explanation. He says, this is how the brain works. Is we have experiences, and we create paths in our brain.
Yes.
Right? And the more we have those experiences, those paths become maybe like ruts.
Right. And they get deeper grooves.
And your brain just goes there. That's why we get triggered.
Just jumps from here to here so easily at some point. Yeah.
They just start being routes.
And it's subconscious. Right? It's not even like you're...
Well, it's just the way you're anatomically, like these synapses fire more easily than other ones. And so Prozac explained to me, Prozac is a way of kind of leveling the playing field. So it allows you to kind of go whichever way you want in your brain.
Oh, I haven't heard it explained like that.
That's how he explained it to me. Yeah.
So did you go down the Prozac path and give that a shot?
I did. I tried it for 4 or 5 months because I wanted to see what it was like. But
did that change anything?
No, it wasn't really impressive for me.
Didn't solve all your problems and make everything easy?
No, just made my libido go down.
Rosie, that's a thing for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Anyways, so what I was thinking about a couple of weeks ago was, is faith that way, or not faith, is what we believe that way. Like, so if you learn to believe a certain way when you're young, and that feels like comfort food to you, right? It just feels warm and fuzzy.
The pathways are already there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, I think.
Yeah, and so coming back to the LDS church, even though I had some really amazing experiences, also felt just like coming home. And I just had a really high level of peace and comfort and joy, even in my being a mom and family life and going to church on Sunday and kind of just the different things I was doing with my son, trying to teach him and
the traditions and the routines.
Being honest and, all the things you want to teach your kids.
Yeah.
So,
do you feel like that would have been more difficult to do without the church in your life?
I don't know.
Because
I didn't go down
you were a good
road.
person before. Yeah, we'll never know. What if?
I just know that it was delightful. Coming back, and so, but I think it's my experiences since then. Like all of that is kind of backdrop to my experiences since then, and just the understanding and
how many
light.
years have you been back in the church now?
So I'm 60, so that's 15.
15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your son was tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's
been back to the temple
senior.
10 years.
Yeah.
So I was just like, so I was already thinking, that being gay was not going to give me what I wanted in a relationship.
Uh-huh.
And the more I thought about that over the next, so when I came back to the church, I stopped dating women.
Okay.
Right about the same time. There was a little overlap, but
was that recommended to you, or is that just a decision?
My last relationship ended, and I just thought, this really isn't going to work.
Oh.
I could keep looking, but now I have family, I have my son, I just got, and I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
So it was a conscious choice you made.
Yeah.
To not date women.
Right.
Okay.
I just felt like I wasn't going to, and it was emotional turmoil most of the time.
That's dating in general, right?
Yes. Yes, I'm sure it's the same with guys as well. It's just like, until you find the right person for you.
Yeah. There's some benefits to settling down, probably, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, maybe it's a chapter I'll open again here as my son leaves home now.
Yeah.
Because he's close.
As he's getting ready to fly the nest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're thinking about dating?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, is that exciting or scary or some of everything?
It's fine.
Doesn't matter.
Very practical. I'm very practical about it.
Yeah.
I like people, so...
And it's not like you're really needy and need to be in a relationship, so...
I don't. I support
so you can be selective and
yeah,
find what you want.
If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, okay, here's what another question I have.
Okay.
I'm wondering about if you had been raised in India or something, and you're a Hindu, like, do you think you would have fallen away from Hinduism and then come back to it? Like, do you think it's, like, Mormonism might be kind of something like that, but because it's familiar and it's cultural and if your family is there?
I know a little bit about Hinduism, but not enough to answer that question, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just wondering about the cultural and familial ties aspect of it. Like, how much of that is a factor in your church activity today? Like it would be for maybe somebody who was raised in a completely different culture, religious experience, but...
Right. I think definitely coming back to the church was because my sister was in the church.
Mm-hmm. So that was a big influence.
Yeah, family and what I knew. But I think the minute...
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That was kind of my decision process, right? It wasn't really based on, oh, this is the one true church or anything like that. It was... but once I was back a year or two, I don't think I would have gone anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. What do you think now? Do you think it's the one true church? Do you think that is something that is real? There is a one true church and it's this one?
I think it has the most truth. How about that? I think it has the most truth. I do think that. So there's...
What's your confidence level on that one?
So I'll just tell you...
Because that's interesting too.
Yeah, I just tell you what I measure that by. There was a BYU mathematician, and this is hearsay, but he said that he believed the LDS Church had 6% of the truth, and I have no idea how he figured that out, or
how he's defining truth,
or what he gauged, like how he gauged the mass of truth we don't know.
6 compared to what?
6%. But I would say that's a good number. It rang true to me that it's some low percentage of information that we have. And
so, like, I'm just trying to understand this concept. BYU professor says the LDS Church has 6% of
the truth.
of all knowable
Yeah.
spiritual religious truths.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is still more than any other organization.
Yeah.
I wonder how much he would say other, like the Catholic Church, what would he say their level of truth is? I wonder. Or like Hinduism, or...
So I would say, I don't know what he would say, but I would say...
It'd be interesting to see his research.
Yeah, I don't know what he based that on. I should go back and see if I can find something on that.
I haven't heard of that. That's great.
But it just stayed with me because of, oh yeah, that's about right. I think 5%, 6%, 2%, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be generous. 2% might be a better number.
Still not a lot, but...
But the thing is, to believe in God, number one, that's like... So it depends on how you weigh what truth is, right? So if the most important thing to believe in all the things you could believe is, some amount of percentage, the rest of it doesn't matter as much, right?
Does it?
No, I don't think it does.
I mean, I think it's case by case, each person.
Yeah, I don't
has a
think he
different level.
does.
To
I don't
you,
think he does.
It's less important.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the reason I was thinking of this, the comfort of how you believe in things.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the Trinity, 3 in 1 versus 3 separate.
Like the Catholic concept versus the LDS concept.
It was like, I don't know, maybe for Catholics that feels, the Trinity is the way they've thought about it their whole life as, all in one. Because when you go to Catholic church, you recite that.
Right.
Every single time. And so...
And it's taught to you, and it's a normal part of their
they actually
belief
recite
system.
They recite it.
Part of the catechism or something? I don't really know.
No, they recite it as part of their liturgy.
Okay.
Every service.
Oh.
Yeah. I forget. Holy Father, Mother, Son of Grace, da 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 da.
Yeah.
All things, da 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 da. And they recite the whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't memorize it.
What do you think about the concept of if you repeat something often enough, it starts feeling like the truth because you've heard it, and then it's probably like the brain, those pathways get all reinforced, and then you're surrounded by other people who are also reinforcing that.
Yeah, but I think you have to have some experience with it. I don't think you hold on to things unless you have some experience with them. Because especially, in the LDS church requires a bit of sacrifice.
A lot of sacrifice, let's be honest.
The monks of the Christian world
Yeah.
require some sacrifice. You have to wear special clothes.
Yeah.
You have to make special promises.
10% of your income.
Yep, you give up some of your monetary
time.
You give up a
Talents.
lot of your time, and you should use your talents. Yes.
It's a whole lifestyle. It's not just we go to church and feel nice on Sunday for a couple hours. It's every day.
Yeah.
It affects your life.
So if you don't have any experience with things that would lead you to continue to do that, I would suppose you would not continue to do that. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you have the same type, like what if a little Catholic kid, 9 years old, has the same type of experience of feeling God and the love of God, and her family says that's because the Catholic Church is the one true church, and that you're doing what God wants you to do, but I don't know, consider becoming a nun, or I don't know, whatever, like a different belief system, but it's the same experience. Would that mean anything?
That's their reality, right?
Right.
Like if they experience
And the
something
interpretation
different
of the reality of what this experience, like, I'm not saying they didn't have that experience, it definitely happened, but how do we interpret that? And how does a little Hindu girl who had that experience and then interprets it a different way?
Well, because I think Heavenly Father wants to, or God wants to lead everyone towards God, so he's going to give them those experiences.
And the direction it takes you is less important.
Yeah.
Than just acknowledging, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as. So the Hindus believe like there's different paths to God. They actually articulate the different paths. Like some people come at things more emotionally. Some people come at things more intellectually, and they have these like.
And aren't there hundreds of gods? Hindu gods? I'm
yeah,
not really
they have
with...
a lot of different gods. I don't know how it works.
They're over different things.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but that'd be interesting to learn about.
I don't know if they're more like saints or they're more like
I don't know.
gods, but they're pictures of, different aspects of God.
Right. Yeah. And I have this thing, which is, I don't know what it is. I just thought it was cool. But that's some kind of Hindu god thing.
Yeah.
Just because it's fun. But I should learn more about it, especially if I have a statue in my home that is a cool Hindu thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I don't know. You learn as you go, so, yeah. That's why I remember we were talking about you're just born into a situation, and that situation's going to teach you and lead you somewhere, and you'll learn from that.
Right. What would you say to someone who... Are you okay? Do you have some time? Like,
yeah. Yeah, I have time.
If you need to go at any time, sometimes I get caught up in things. What would you say to someone who had all those same experiences and then determined that it was just from within and not an external, and doesn't attribute it to an experience with God, but they felt love and peace and connection and interpreted that as just that's the way my brain works, or it's just like psychological, maybe.
Yeah,
Would you say they're wrong?
No, I have a friend like that now, actually, that I talk to a lot, and he thinks it's a physiological phenomenon that we feel things, like, there's a name for it, but I don't remember the name for it. Like, if you hear music that inspires you, you'll feel,
You get the chills, and
yeah,
you feel
exactly.
warm, and you feel...
Yes.
Moves you to tears.
Yes.
Yeah. Elevation emotion?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
No, that's not the word he used. But probably the same thing.
It's probably, same idea.
Yeah.
But those intense, strong feelings that
right.
that people feel, they seem to attribute it to different things sometimes.
Right.
So your friend was saying...
Yeah, so we talk a lot about that, him and I. And I think he just hasn't had the experiences that I've had. Yeah. That's what I think.
You attribute your experiences to connecting with a God. And if he had that same experience, he would say, like what I just said, like it was just my emotions in my brain. And
not the same. He hasn't had the experiences I've had.
Oh, he hasn't had similar things?
No. And to boot, so he felt like the warm fuzzies, he would call them, I think. Like when he was a teenager and they were telling, they'd play Paul H. Dunn stories and stuff, and he'd get warm fuzzies. He felt like that was his testimony, but then he found out Paul H.
He was
Dunn,
LDS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but then he learned that Paul H. Dunn made all those stories up.
Yes.
Right? None of them were true.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
And they're pulling his books from the bookstore.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
But they still inspire the same feelings of warmth, and it's supposed to be testimony building and faith promoting. Although they're based on a lie, so I could see why he wasn't real thrilled with that.
Yeah, no, he wasn't real thrilled with that. And that kind of undermined his view of his spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of them were, he held on to were based on that. Or were of that genre.
Yeah. So how is that different than your experience?
So
as a 9-year-old?
I don't know. I've just had, like, so there was that first experience of feeling like God put his arms around me.
Yeah.
And then coming back to the church, I would say, so if you're doing good things and learning good things and you're growing in good ways, that's exhilarating, right? So
yeah, regardless of your reasons.
Regardless of the goodness and where you're getting it from, yeah. Those
people
are good
find
things.
joy in doing those things generally.
Yeah. And since I
forgot to take notes. I started. Oopsie. Go ahead.
So, and since, I was feeling so much happier than when I was away from the church, I decided I wanted to go back to the temple.
Okay.
And here's where I think the differences started coming in. So when I decided to go back to the temple...
This is after how many years of attending? Like re-attending again later? Okay, so 5 years.
Yeah. 5.
So your son is elementary school age?
Yeah, he was 5-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. 5-ish, 6-ish. Yeah, I think he was 6 when I went back to the temple.
Okay.
And I took it really seriously because I'd been to the temple.
You'd gone before
Yes.
your mission.
Right, exactly. And so I knew what I was going to be promising.
Yes,
right?
you were aware of the
sacrifice
covenants.
and all those things. And so I knew I wasn't going back and then going back to gay life. Like that was...
Oh, okay.
Like I knew I was giving up gay life. And I was already given up gay life. Like I already was feeling like, well...
So
it just
in your
work.
mind, you're already...
Yeah.
You've let that go.
It didn't work for me. So I tried for 20 years. It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. I'm doing all these good things. So I'm going to go back to the temple. Right.
Knowing what the covenants are.
Knowing what the covenants are.
This time. Yeah.
Like, so I went back the first time. I cried when I came home because, oh man, I'm going to be by myself for the rest of my life. That's what I thought.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you covenant to obey your husband?
No, I don't think they had that. They took that out.
Well, recently. It's only been a couple of years that it's been out.
Well, I don't have a husband, so...
So, yeah, you don't gotta obey nobody.
Yeah, no.
Yet. I mean, maybe...
I grew up with a dad that hit my mom and would quote the Bible doing so. And I was just like, so that doesn't
not okay.
hold any water for me at all.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if he's righteous and I agree with him, maybe we'll do the same thing.
Right.
But I don't see it as obedience at that point.
Yeah. I think the word is hearken unto your husband. So
yeah,
it doesn't say obey, but...
I would think you would hearken unto your spouse anyways, right? You're with them, you're committed to them.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're...
Well, and your husband should hearken unto you as well, but
exactly.
It's not a two-way.
Whatever.
Yeah, so you went back to the temple. You cried...
No, so when I went back to the temple, so I had some remarkable experiences. So I was trying to remember what happened in the temple. And I could remember most everything, but there was one part I could not remember.
Before you went again,
yes.
you were trying to remember?
Yes.
Okay, get prepared.
Yes.
Okay.
And I went in to talk to my stake president, which was, I'd never talked to him before, and it was a really good talk. We talked about my life and being gay and these different things. And he gave me my recommend, and I went home, and I remembered word for word that part.
Wow.
Which is, it's a paragraph long.
Yeah.
So for me, that was like, okay, God's trying to tell me this is a good path for me. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that it's everyone's path, but for me, this is the right path.
You accepted it.
Yeah. God was trying to give me comfort in that. And that wasn't... So the way I view that the Spirit works, because we have this brain that I think we use like 5% of. I think the Spirit just like puts some light or some magic in there and lets things broaden your perspective, right? And this was just one of them. Like remembering that experience when I was 9.
Right.
It's like the Spirit just said, "Oh, remember this?"
It just popped into your mind, to your conscious memory.
Yeah, because those aren't things I'm physically capable of.
It's not?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Why is that?
I am absolutely sure.
Like, brains are pretty amazing and pretty powerful.
I know. I have 2 patents at IBM. I'm smart.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're not.
But I know
just...
my brain is limited.
Yeah.
And like when you can't remember something, you don't remember it the next day just because like you've already tried to remember it.
Right.
Like I hit this in my work every day, all day long. So you go look it up.
Right.
Look it up. But these aren't things I looked up.
Right.
They're things the Spirit like enlightened me about. They came from outside of me. I just know they came from outside of me.
How do you know that?
Because they're not in my capacity.
Well, they were at one point. Could they not be recollected somehow?
I don't know. Do you recollect random things?
Yeah, all the time.
30 years ago?
Yeah, I do.
No, word for word, you do not.
I don't.
I don't.
I
doubt you do.
Random things, random memories. Yeah.
Yeah, you might.
I don't know though.
You might have a deja vu. This is different than a deja vu.
Yeah.
Or you might have.
And I'm not a neuroscientist, or like I don't know. I'm just hypothetically throwing stuff out.
Yeah.
Because I think it's interesting.
Yeah. So that was one experience, and then I went back. I went the first time, and I was kind of sad.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal to have like a paragraph's worth of word for word.
Yeah, come back
recollection.
And then the next time I went. My sister got me to go. She invited me to go with her a couple weeks later, and so we went back. And after that session, how would I characterize it? Someone asked me something in my mind, like. So like, if someone would have been standing behind me, I would have turned around. The first time I heard a voice in my mind, I did turn around.
Wow.
But this was the second time. And so I didn't turn around. But I knew it was a voice from outside me.
And there was nobody there?
No.
But you heard an audio.
Yeah. It was a voice.
Words.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all it asked me was, what is the desire of your heart?
Oh.
Like... So I'd been sad. I'd gone to the temple. I'd recommitted.
You're trying to figure all this
I'm trying to
crazy
figure it
stuff out.
And the Spirit asked me, what's the desire of your heart? Like, and that just shifted my whole perspective. It's like, oh, I get to have what I want. I get to be who I want. I get to, like...
Like the desires of your heart matter.
Yes, completely. 100%.
So it's not just about being obedient and following, checking off all the boxes.
Oh, no.
What you want is important.
Yeah. What you want in life, and when whatever stretch of time you want to think about, it's based on the desire of your heart. Yeah. It was hugely comforting because I was kind of seeing things as limited for myself because of the gay issue.
Right.
And it just gave me comfort that, oh, okay, God's looking after me. He's
aware of your desires.
Yes, He's going to give me the desires in my heart. Yeah.
Wow. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah. So that coupled with, I know that He loves me. And
was that in the temple that happened? Or just around that time?
Trying to think where I physically was. I think I was walking out of the temple, actually.
Oh, okay.
I think I was just walking out. And my sister, because I was there with my sister, I don't even know where she was in the moment. I think we driven together, so I don't know.
But she wasn't physically there.
Nobody
was physically there.
She was not in the memory.
Yeah.
No.
Whether she was there or not must not have mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of those things kind of solidified, this is the right decision for me right now, for my phase of life and what I'm doing. Just everything made sense.
And then an aperture widening. That's basically what the Spirit did, is it widened my aperture of what was possible for me, and yeah.
Okay. Can I throw out one more hypothetical and then we'll be done? Because
Sure.
You've been more than generous with your time here. What, hypothetically speaking, what would your life look like if you were to let go of this belief in God? Or even go from 100% down to a 50?
So I think that's where I was when I was having those thoughts of, is there really a God?
You're like maybe a 50, like could go either way.
Yeah.
Do you think your life would be like that again?
Probably. I don't
Go
know.
back
It
to
gives
that.
me such a such a grounding that I don't think I would have, because I didn't have a grounding during my 30s.
Yeah.
Versus 45 on, I feel very grounded, very at peace with my direction, fulfilled in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's things I wouldn't mind having, like $1 million or
sure,
whatever.
Yeah.
But outside of that, yeah.
Right. How do you think someone like me who doesn't believe in any gods, do you think I'm not grounded? Or is it like a personal thing? Or like, not even me personally, but maybe somebody else. Like, don't.
So I would have to get to know you to know if you were not grounded. I do have a friend that's not very grounded. And
I guess the question is, do you think you need that belief in God to have the grounding and the stability? Are they related? For you, you said they are, but
I think it's helpful. Yeah, I think it's very helpful. I think that's why people have sought God and do seek God. Yeah. I have a friend that I don't know if I think she considers herself an atheist. I'm trying to remember if I've heard her say that, but I gave her this. It was like something off the church website. It was a little video, 7 minutes, about this guy who, why he believes in God, basically, or yeah, I think that's what it was. And where he was just talking about life in general. And
you sent the video to her?
Yeah, I sent it to her because we were talking about God or something, and I sent the video to her, and she comes back and says, "Wow, you believe in a personal God." Like, not just a higher power, not just someone who created the world,
theoretical God.
You believe in someone who talks to you
and intervenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And gives you blessings. And
yeah. That's why we had to go to the definition right at the beginning, because God is the universe, which is.
But I would say for her, I would believe she would be more grounded if she had that.
For that case.
Yeah. I know her well enough I could say that. I don't know you well enough to say that.
Right. For you, you feel like if you didn't have that belief, you would be less grounded.
Yeah.
Feel
I was less grounded.
Floaty and directionless. So it gives you comfort, direction, grounding.
Anchors my faith.
Anchors your faith.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a big word.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, now we need another 2 hours to talk about faith. And what is faith?
So I would just, for me, what I believe faith is the conviction you have to move forward in some direction. So
faith is like a conviction?
Yeah, you decide you want to get a degree in science and work in, I don't know, whatever. So you do all these things, right? You move forward based on your interests, what you believe your capability is, all these things. Yeah. So I would characterize faith as hope, belief, and evidence.
Hope, belief, and evidence.
Like a 3-legged stool.
All combined?
Yep, and you sit
with
on that.
equal weight to each of them, equal distribution, maybe? A third,
Yeah.
a third, a third?
Sure.
What was it? Hope,
Hope,
evidence, and what was the third one?
belief.
Belief. Do you think people choose their beliefs?
Some people do, for sure.
Could you choose to believe in Bigfoot?
I do believe in Bigfoot.
Ah, okay, let me change it then. Could you choose to believe in
I don't know, I've never seen
dragons?
Bigfoot, but the metaphysical dragons or real dragons?
real dragons?
Like,
Do you,
how to train
could
my
you
dragon?
choose to believe that dragons are real?
I don't believe there's any dragons on Earth today.
Could you choose to believe that, though? Or would you need evidence to be convinced?
Well, if you told me you saw a dragon, then I would believe you. Like,
You
if
would?
you could describe it and you had a conviction about it, yeah,
Yeah.
I would believe you.
To what level of confidence? Like, you probably wouldn't be at 100% for that. You'd probably be like, somewhere lower.
You'd have to get a little skeptical. No one else has seen this dragon.
Yeah.
Maybe she was dreaming.
yeah, what
The
was she
movie.
smoking? Like, yeah.
No, I don't know.
Vivid imagination. Like, we know hallucinations are real. Like,
Yeah.
so you wouldn't just accept that. Even if I was, like, super convicted and said, Linnette, for reals, I saw this dragon. It's real. It's in my garage. It would take a little more convincing, right?
Maybe walking down to the garage.
Yeah, maybe do some testing
Oh,
to
it
see,
got out. Oh, where's its poop?
oh, it's invisible. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's there, though.
Puff.
Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you take a picture of it? No. Can you? Yeah,
No,
there's-
but if you had evidence,
Mhm.
it's evidence and hope. Do you need to hope in a dragon? I don't know.
if it
maybe-
means that your eternal salvation's on the line,
Yeah.
or
Jackie Caper hoped in a dragon.
right.
For some reason, but then then it says he grew out of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I think you grew out of things that you don't have evidence for.
Well, like, you could compare it to, like, believing in Santa. Like, there was a time in my life I knew for 100% fact, Santa's the man. Like, that's
Well, because you had evidence, right?
so much
presents-
evidence, yeah.
Presidents show up under this tree.
People talk about it all the time
You
and
got
say,
to go
Santa's
see
coming, I
him.
sat on his lap. Like,
Yeah. You had a lot of evidence. Until
so
you
much
found
evidence.
out who put the presents under the tree.
And then I saw more evidence that showed,
Right,
wait, okay, now the evidence is taking me down a different direction.
right.
And I gotta I couldn't choose to believe in Santa after seeing a lack of evidence,
Yeah,
or seeing, like, what the actual evidence is showing.
yeah. So I have another friend who, so I just, like, I'll tell you how I think those three things work. So,
Yeah.
I have another friend who I don't think had she was a missionary companion of mine.
Oh, cool.
And she just felt like she had never had a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Like
Like, never.
everyone talked about them, and
Uh-huh.
people said they knew, and she had not had one.
And she went on a mission anyway.
And she went on a mission anyway.
Okay.
And then probably 10 years later, she left the church. And so when I would talk to her, like when I came back to the church and I talked to her a lot about, like, God,
Right.
she just said she hoped there was a God, and she prayed that there was, she prayed to him still.
Mm-hmm.
And she hoped he was there, but she didn't have any evidence.
Right. She didn't have any personal experience. She didn't have any physical evidence. She only had the hope.
Yeah. And so hope can be the precursor to belief, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And then belief can be the precursor to evidence.
Yeah.
And I think when you don't have evidence or you don't feel like you have evidence, then that's when you maybe change your beliefs about things.
Right.
That's
You have to
kinda how-
reevaluate your belief and say, do I
think
want to
that's
hold on to
how
this?
I interpret how it works.
Mm-hmm. What about the term confirmation bias? Like, can you hope to believe something and then use confirmation bias to, find the right evidence? And I'll accept this as evidence because I hope this is true. Like, did she try that at all?
Yeah, that only goes so far, huh? I don't think.
I wonder if that would work for like Santa or a dragon as well. Like, if you're willing to accept evidence or something as evidence that only confirms what you want or hope to be true.
Well, and that's probably why faith doesn't persist if you don't have evidence leading you to good things, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why the scripture says faith has to be in something that's true. Like, because it won't persist otherwise, right?
Would it not?
No.
Don't people have faith in all kinds of things that aren't true?
I don't know. I think they must have some evidence.
Yeah. Well, what about astrology or something? Like, you could have faith that astrology guides your life, and then you can look for the evidence and be like, oh, that was spot on last week when my horoscope said not to go to work that day. Or, like, you could find reasons to hold on to that belief if you're looking for them. So would you say there's a level of truth to astrology?
To me, it seems so random that you're always going to find truth every 10 days.
You're right. But then you focus on those hits, and then you ignore the misses.
Yeah.
Like, well, that doesn't matter.
Although I am a triple air sign. So
I don't even know what that means, but that sounds important.
Yeah. I'm in my head a lot. That's what that means.
Does it? A triple air sign? I've
Yeah.
never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a Libra, so you got the balance, right?
Oh, is that the scale?
Yeah.
The one with the scale?
Thinking on both sides. And then I'm I want to say, I think I'm a Gemini rising. So you got both sides of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gemini rising.
And my moon is in the other air sign. I want to say Aquarius.
So do you think there is some truth in astrology? Like
Who
how the
knows?
stars were aligned when you came out of your mom's...
trajectory.
Yeah.
Your spiritual trajectory into this life.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Based on the positions of the planets and the stars.
Who knows?
So there might be some truth in that.
They've created some interesting... Yeah.
A lot of people believe it.
I know.
And follow it.
Well,
So if you just go by numbers.
The Indian arranged marriage system today has a lot to do with astrology.
Did they use that?
Yeah, they compare astrologies to see if they're a match.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
and it works.
A good part of how they match make today is
based on the stars.
At least the last I knew. So maybe do you have a love marriage or an arranged marriage or someone you found on an Indian site where they did astrology mapping.
And if you're told your whole life that this is the best way to do it and you will be compatible with this person, you're more likely to accept it.
Mm-hmm. Even with arranged marriages, they do an astrology mapping, I think, a lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. Okay. Yeah, well, thanks for talking to me today. That was really cool. I mean, I could go on for more hours, but it's been a long time already. So, yeah, just thanks for your participation. Being willing to be open and honest. It's pretty amazing. So that's pretty much all Street Epistemology is. It's just exploring belief. Like that.
I expected more like a methodology, but it's not a methodology, really. It's just...
No, it's just a conversational exploration. Yeah. And just gently challenging.
Yeah, a way of challenging.
Yeah, and say, well, what about this? What about that? Mm-hmm. Would you hold on to that if things were like that? And just different hypotheticals and different ways of thinking about things. So, pretty interesting. Yeah, and you're unique in your beliefs because of your background story, which is amazing.
Because, yeah, my path.
Yeah. You like took this path to get to where you are today, which is amazing. It's really cool. Yeah, let me turn this up. Yeah, so thanks again. Appreciate it.